You know, one of the reasons why I like the Nigerian movie industry is the fact that they are always growing. They are always striving to be better. If you've been seeing Nigerian movies for a long time, you know that the Nigerian movie industry is constantly improving. And honestly, I love that so much because we don't want to be where we are last 10 years now. Everybody wants growth, everybody wants change. And the fact that I can see that growth and change in the Nigerian film industry is something that makes me so happy. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In this video, I want to talk about Suspicion. Suspicion follows the story of a man that has juju, he has black magic, and he loses his best friend and his goddaughter. He tries to get revenge with all his power and all that stuff. That is basically what this film is about. I don't know if I'm describing it very well, but that is the gist of this film. And I remember seeing the trailer of this film, but I did not pay too much attention to it. I saw they did some kind of stunts in the trailer, and I was like, okay, let's see what will happen. Then I saw this movie, it came out a few days ago, and I finally saw it, and I feel conflicted because there are a lot of things that I really like with this film, and there are also plenty things that I do not like with this film. I don't know, I think it's becoming a common thing with Nigerian films that I've been seeing lately. As much as they are improving, I can see the change, I can see the growth in it. I'm sure you too, you can see the growth in Nigerian films, but you can't deny that there are still some flaws that are existing in those movies. And this movie, there are so many flaws that just made me feel conflicted about this film. Before I talk about the flaws, let me talk about the things I liked about this film. One of the things I liked about this film, I think the thing I loved the most about this film was the filmmaking surrounding it. The way this film was made, the way this film was directed, the way it was shot, like the technical part of this film was just very impressive, and it was very sound. I loved it so much. You can tell that the filmmakers or the directors, they are like modern filmmakers. They have modern ideas on how to make movies. They made this film like it's a modern film, and that was something I really appreciated. Some of the things that made me feel like this film had a modern direction to it was because of some of the techniques that they used, like using match cuts. I don't think I've ever seen match cuts being used in Nigerian film before. I'm not even exaggerating. I saw them use match cuts in this film. I saw long takes, like not just regular long takes with fight sequences in it. Like it was very surprising. I've not seen anything like that before in Nigerian films, and I'm seeing all those things. Plus the camera movement. The camera movement has this very fluid flow to it. Sometimes the camera will just come like this and zoom into something, or just zoom out of something, or go very fast, moving as fast as the characters are moving. Like it was very impressive the way they were able to direct and shoot this film, and it was something that I really appreciated with this film, and it was just making me feel so proud of watching a Nigerian film and seeing all these kind of techniques being implemented in a film. And the technical aspect of this film, like I said earlier, it is very sound. And that's one of the things I love so much about this film. Another thing I liked with this film was the creativity they used to implement the juju and black magic into this film. Like they had very creative ways of bringing this thing to life. I don't give spoilers, but when you watch this film, or if you've seen this film, you know what I'm talking about. You see the way they use the black magic. Like if you are using this thing like this, there is a consequence to it. Like if something is working like this, there's a loophole you can get to counter how that thing is working. Like if you've seen the movie, you understand what I'm saying. So they just explored black magic in a very creative way that made it much interesting, because they could have just made it something that is like all powerful because I have this black magic, I have juju, like nothing fits up. But it doesn't happen like that here. It has consequences, it has its pros and its cons. I did not expect that they were going to have this creativity about the juju. So something that surprised me and I love seeing so much. And I just have to praise and appreciate the directors and the filmmakers so much for the amount of creativity and craft that they brought into telling this story. It was so creative and so impressive. And if you've seen the trailer of this film, you know that there are fight scenes in this film. And honestly, those fight scenes were very impressive. They were very impressive. There was a particular fight scene in the beginning that I loved so much. Like I had to rewind it like 15 times to see the move that this guy was doing. This guy was doing a kind of move that was just very surprised. See, and I kept rewinding like, how did this guy achieve this thing? Like the fight sequences were very impressive, and I really loved it. But as much as I love the fight sequences, I wish the camera movement had been less chaotic. I wish the camera was not cutting back and forth so much, or just moving so much. As much as it works in some scenes, in some other scenes, it just makes the action not very clear. And seeing this kind of action in Nigerian film, you want to witness it, you want to see it very clearly. So I wish they had shot it with like steady cams and like make it very visible for us to see. But nonetheless, it was still very entertaining to see these action sequences. The way I'm talking about the things I love in this film, you would not believe that I have some negative things to say about this film. But honestly, I have some negative things to say about this film. Maybe negative is too big of a word to use, but there are some things I did not really like about this film. The major thing that I did not like with this film is the storytelling. There were so many things that were surrounding the storytelling that did not work for me. Like there are sometimes that something will happen, like the character will find himself in a situation that he wants to be in. And when you see those moments, you're like, how did he get here? How was he able to get these things so easily like that? So it felt like there were some parts of this storytelling that felt like it just made some things just very, very convenient for the characters to just happen upon it. And it feels very, very unrealistic because it feels like someone is just guiding the character and making him move left and right. It did not really make sense to me. So there are a lot of conveniences, a lot of things that just happen to happen because they wanted the story to go forward, and all those things did not sit on me. Another thing was that there were some plot points that they were introducing in this film. Like there is a plot point about a company, and the way they were developing the plot points of the company, you would think there is something more that is going to come from it. But when the film just gets to the end and you see the final thing, so something that was just making me feel like the plot points were not utilized because you've told me about something several times in this movie, so you should show me something like a resolution on that thing you have been telling me about. But they just forgot about it, and so something that was just like you could have just taken this part of this film out and to not affect the story, but you included it and you did not give me a suiting conclusion to it. So it was something that made me feel like there's some plot points that they started but they did not complete, and so something that just it took me out of the experience. Another thing was that some of the scenes that were in this film, they were honestly not needed. For instance, there's a scene in a bar. If you really want to think about it, I'm sure you can find a reason for why that scene happened. But honestly, I felt like the story could have gone on the way it was going without that scene being included. And there was a particular actress, I don't want to give spoilers, maybe it's a purposeful cameo that they used. I don't want to give spoilers, but there's a particular actress that they showed in that sequence. I'm like, they showed this woman once and they don't show her again. It felt like they were just putting some scenes into it because they wanted to show something, because they wanted to get more action sequences. And to me, it just felt like the action sequences were not earned and they did not have that much impact for me. And honestly, I feel like the storytelling was where I had the biggest issue with this film. Like I said, the technical part of this film was very, very good. It was very, 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 very good. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but the storytelling could have been much better. I can't talk about this film without talking about the characters and the actors. The main character, for instance, the guy that has the juju, the character was very, very interesting to watch. The character felt like a very, very complex, layered character. I also compelled with the way they told the story of his character, and I was just on his side for the most of this film. And that is what you want. You want the audience to be on the side of your protagonist. And I like the way they wrote the character and the way Stan Nze, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Stan Nze plays the main character. His performance in this film was just fantastic. I mean, this guy was in Afame Funa and One Boy Story. Stan Nze was the one that played Afame Funa in that film, and his performance in that film itself was out of this world. And he came here, he delivered a very, very brilliant performance. Those characters are very, very different, and he owned this character, performed extremely well, and delivered a fantastic performance. And not just him, the other main characters also delivered, and I enjoyed their performances. But some of the side characters, they were not as convincing to me. It felt like they were acting. It was very, very obvious that some of the side characters were acting, and it was just taking me out of the experience. But fortunately, those side characters did not appear so many times in the film, so it's something that I could just easily forget. But the performances from the main guys, the main actors, the main stars of this film were very, very good. There was another issue I had with this film, and it is the way some things played out in this film. Like at a point, towards the end of this film, when we got to the final act of this film, I became very, very confused because a lot of things were happening that did not make a lot of sense to me with the story. And I'm like, wait, if this character has this thing, how does this character have this thing? Like there are just so many things that were just very, very convoluted with the storytelling at the end in the third act of this film. It felt like the filmmakers were trying to be clever and bring some things that you were not expecting, but it was just very, very confusing for me. There are some twists in this film, some twists that were very, very predictable. There was one particular twist, like there are like two or three big twists. The first big twist was very, very predictable. I knew that this was what was going to happen. Like anybody, I'm sure a lot of people would have predicted that first. Even the third twist, they would have predicted all the twists, but some of them were not very predictable to me. But I just feel like those twists, they could have been better. What didn't help this film was the way that third act played out. That third act was very, very dark. That's where you see some crazy shit happen. Like you understand a lot of things that has happened in the story, and when you're trying to understand, they are giving you so many information, and it's just confusing you. So I don't know, it might not confuse you, but all those information that you were passing to me in that thought that it just confused me so much, and I did not understand what they were trying to do. So it just made that thought that, and the whole story very, very convoluted. And like I said, the main issue I had with this film was the storytelling, and all this thing just plays into how the storytelling did not work as well as it should have worked. All in all, I feel like this film is a step in the right direction with making these kinds of films in the Nigerian industry. And I'm just hoping that they give us better stories to go along with this impressive filmmaking that we're having nowadays. And I hope going forward, the stories will not be as confusing and as convoluted as this story was. And honestly, I'm just very happy that I could enjoy some things. I could see some things in this film that made me feel so proud to be a Nigerian. I was happy to see it, and I wish it could have been better. But all in all, this film was a step in the right direction, honestly. Have you seen Suspicion? What do you think about it? Comment below and let me know. If this is your first time on my channel, please subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Cheers.